Hey, what's going on everybody? It's Andy back again from the underground. Today we're taking a look at the highly anticipated Bulletproof Fitness VTS, also known as the Trolley system. This is a rack attachment that allows you to mimic a Smith machine and a lot more. Today's video is going to be a little bit longer than usual because I'm going to show you what comes in the box, what you should expect when receiving your VTS, the assembly, and a little bit of the VTS in use. I'll be breaking up this video into chapters so it'll be easier for you to jump to different segments. Note, this is not to be confused with the VTS Lite. I also have a video on the way for the Lite as well. The main differences between the Lite and the original VTS is that the Lite only features a front and back trolley system on the two sides of the upright, whereas the VTS has a four-way trolley system that encloses the upright with wheels on all four sides. The VTS can be used with handles and other attachments in the future, whereas the VTS Lite cannot use the solo handles and is intended for Smith machine movements primarily. And in this video, you're going to see the ISO handles. The ISO handles in the video are about 17.5 inches in length, and the weight horn extends out about 18 inches. And the VTS itself, the cage is about 10 by 12 inches. That's not the exact size of it, but it's pretty close. You can probably get the exact measurements on the Bulletproof Fitness website. I believe the ISO handle diameter is about 28 millimeters in thickness. I know Bulletproof has in the works a 29 millimeter feather barbell, as well as new ISO handles that are 29 millimeters in diameter. Let's talk about the cost next. I ordered my VTS when the pre-sale dropped for it. I placed my order back on December 27, 2023 for the total cost of $994 shipped to my door, and this is with the ISO handles and the weight horns, and at the time it was a little cheaper for the pre-sale. However, there wasn't any VTSs out in the wild yet. It was more in the prototype stage. Am I a little crazy for purchasing without seeing the VTS before it was made? Yes, I am. But I think, Bulletproof Fitness, they do a really good job with customer service, and it has been reliable and dependable in the past. So I wanted to take my chance with getting this VTS. I've had issues with my isolator in the past, and every time I've reached out, I've been taken care of quickly with customer service. And I got my VTS on July 18th, 2024. So I've had it for a few months now, about a month and a half. And I ordered mine with the ISO handles, and I believe the weight horns come with the VTS if you buy the ISO handles. So at the time they came together as a bundle. Now you have to purchase them separately. It was a decently long wait, but it's not too bad in my opinion. If you're a Prime Fitness purchaser, you will understand that 6 to 7 month wait times is nothing in comparison to Prime. I've also had a very long wait times for other products in the home gym space, and that's just the nature of it. It takes a lot of time. There were just about 2 delays with the VTS, and Bulletproof would update whenever those delays happened. And when the delays did happen, they did offer like 10% discount codes for future orders, which is a really nice gesture from them. And as you can see from the unboxing, my VTS did not come with the rubberized hooks as originally planned. And when users got their VTS systems, nobody got the rubberized hooks. And Bulletproof actually recognized that the rubberized hooks would be an issue in the future, so they went ahead and created a new plastic and metal hook mechanism that will help latching with 5/8 inch holes racks a lot easier, as well as 1-inch hole racks. The hook tips were a nice addition to the VTS, and they sent them free of charge if you ordered a VTS or VTS Lite. If they went ahead with the rubberized hooks, that they would have definitely been chewed through from each of the user's racks, such as my Sornex rack and my Rogue racks. The metal is sharp on the insides of the holes, so over time the rubber would definitely get chewed through. And as you can see here, I'm putting my VTS on my Sornex squat stand. It's 3x3 tubing with 1-inch holes, and I don't plan to move it to my Rogue monster rack at this time. I find that the VTS has the best usage when it's on a solo stand for itself, so it really mimics close to a Smith machine itself. And here you can see that I bought some weight pins for my Sornex squat stand to put some weights in the back to keep it weighed down. It would definitely be more stable on a power rack. However, I'm not going to be maxing out some crazy weights on my VTS or pressing anything insane or squatting anything like near my powerlifting numbers. So I just wanted to use it more for accessory movements, and I bought the weight horns again to weigh down my sore neck squat stand just in case for stability issues. And from using it so far, everything's been working well. There's no movement when I'm using the VTS. However, again, I'm not using some crazy amounts of weights on the VTS yet. Originally, I wanted to take full advantage of using like these ISO arms for pressing motions and potentially pulling motions with the VTS. So that's why I went with the VTS right off the bat. And at the time, it was not as expensive as it is now. Right now, the VTS is $8.99, and I believe the Lite version is $5.99. That's not with shipping and tax. So if you only care about having a Smith machine, get the Lite. If you want to do ISO movements as well as having future attachments, then get the VTS. As you can see, when I got the VTS, most of it was already put together for me, and it just goes through the uprights, and it has a 4-way trolley system. The VTS encases 8 wheels on the unit to surround the upright, and this cage is a fully welded unit, so that's why the VTS almost always has to go through the upright and it can't be taken apart. Each side has 2 wheels, so you can adjust accordingly to make the wheels tighter or looser to the upright. As you can see here, I'm adjusting the bolts on it just so I can have a smooth usage for my VTS. Each rack is going to be a little bit different in terms of tightness and how you have things oriented. You can adjust each of these wheels with an Allen wrench with tightening and loosening each screw that coincides with each wheel. If your VTS is hard to move up and down the upright, it's probably too tight, and so you want to loosen up these bolts that you have on it. And if it moves too fast and freely, then your VTS might be too loose. I find that I like a moderate amount of friction, so I spent a lot of time tinkering to get the desired trolley speed. This proved to probably be the most tricky part of setting up the VTS because it wasn't really clear how to get the attachment up and running. However, they do now have installation videos, but as you can see here, I just threw it over the top upright of my sore neck squat stand, and I am just adjusting as is and making sure and trying to get my trolley as smooth as possible. Out of the box, the VTS installation looks pretty straightforward. However, I saw other users set up their VTS before I got mine, so I had some tips before I installed my VTS. The quality of the VTS is very nice. The welded frame has a lot of nuts and screws to tinker with, and that's going to be annoying for some, but I kind of like that I'm able to adjust a lot of it myself. The paint finish on the VTS, it's more of like a textured black powder coat. It's pretty nice, and it seems like it's going to hold up well over time. It matches my sore neck squat stand pretty well. Because I saw other people get their VTS systems and set it up first, I've seen some people scratch up their racks with their VTS systems, so I made sure to be kind of cautious when setting this up and making sure there's no metal on metal contact and making sure that the trolley doesn't come into contact with the sore neck squat stand when installing it. So the only things touching the sore neck squat stand is basically the rollers on the VTS. Yeah, so a quick tip when installing your VTS, make sure that there's no metal on metal contact, and make sure you're not using, there's a little eyelet in the back of the VTS that I've seen people have been using pulley systems for. Make sure you don't install or use that eyelet for anything at this point. It's going to be used for attachments later in the future. However, it's not intended to be used on like any pulley systems, I believe, but I have seen people use it. I'm not sure how safe it is or how well it'll hold up over time, but I'm pretty sure that's not the intended use of it right now. But be on the lookout for that. Maybe that will change in the future with attachments. And as you can see here, there's just a lot of tinkering to do with the VTS system. So I'm installing the ISO handles here. However, there are lots of latches and screws that you kind of have to finagle with and adjust accordingly. You want to make sure your latch is tight, but not too tight where it can't rotate. Here you can see this VTS clamp. There's rollers on the inside of it, and it helps the bar rotate and be able to use the latch system. So you want to be able to make sure your latches are tight where it will spin and adjust accordingly, so then you can install your hook for it to latch like a Smith machine onto your rack. So these are a very unique design. I haven't seen this before for any of these systems. And when you install this hook, you want to make sure the hook is pretty tight, so when you're using the latch system for the VTS, it's pretty responsive overall. While using the VTS system for a barbell versus the ISO handles, I actually like the ISO handles a little bit more right now, just because the starting weight isn't so heavy. I noticed that when you use a normal 45-pound barbell, the VTS starting weight is pretty heavy, and there's no counterweight on it like a traditional Smith machine. So if you can use bands or something else to help counter the weight for your VTS, that will help out a lot. So using the VTS will be pretty heavy, but it's doable. Like I said, use bands to potentially have counterweight for more assistance. As of right now, I prefer using the VTS with the ISO handles, as most of the motions that you can do with the ISO handles are pressing movements, and I really like that with the VTS, as it feels really smooth and it gives me a lot of variety, and I can do a lot of different accessory movements with it right now. Again, I went with the VTS originally over the VTS Lite because it'll be coming out with more accessories and options in the future. I think if I got a functional trainer attachment with my rack, like the new Aries 2.0 or the Rogue functional trainer, I'd be able to use my VTS with it in the future. Bulletproof is also making their own kind of pulley system, so I'm interested to see how they do that. They call it the high-low pulley attachment for the VTS. However, they did pull it from the market as they are redesigning it for a better setup in the future. As I was saying before, I think the VTS is best set up on an individual rack or a squat stand. If you only have a singular rack in your gym, the VTS might take up a lot of real estate on your rack depending on the size of your rack. I know you can hook it and put it away when you're not using it. However, it is just like this overly cumbersome piece that's still attached to your rack and your upright, and you might have to adjust whatever movement that you're doing to get it out of the way. And if your rack has an overflow of attachments like mine, I have a Rogue RM6, but it's decked out with tons of attachments like the trolley arm and the monster slinger. I don't think I would trade out my current setup just for VTS, and that's why the VTS has its own dedicated space in my gym, and I can use it freely as a Smith machine, or I can use it with the ISO handles that it has. Even the isolator takes up a lot of real estate, and I've seen people on Facebook get rid of their Bulletproof Fitness isolators just because it takes up too much real estate on their rack and they want to have more space to do other things. If I had to choose between the two, the isolator or the VTS, I would probably choose the isolator because of the functionality to do leg extensions and leg curls, and those are pretty important things for me. However, if I already had a dedicated leg extension and seated leg curl, I would get the VTS. At the time when I was purchasing the VTS, the isolator was a little cheaper. However, I believe now they are the same price, and the isolator still has more exercises. And again, if I was deciding between the VTS or the Lite version, I would get the VTS just because of the attachments in the future. I also got the VTS Lite in recently, so I can make a recommendation based off of that in a little bit. And here you see me setting up my VTS with a very light barbell. It's like some technique bar that I had just chilling, and it's rackable, so it's really nice for the VTS as it's super light and easy to move around and use. The first motion you saw me doing was the Smith press, which is really smooth on the VTS, and here you can see that I'm doing a calf raise with the VTS, and this is me setting up the VTS to do the Smith machine squat. So I know people are gonna really like this motion, as you can overload on the Smith squats. And these were just some motions that I thought of doing with the VTS right away, and just ease of use for the video itself. And I really like these motions, especially the Smith squats. They feel really smooth. The latching system takes a little to get used to, especially if you don't have any counterweight to have for your VTS. And here I switched to the ISO handles. The usage, these are definitely a staple for me now for the pressing motions. I really like how smooth using these ISO handles are. They feel great in hand. The weight horns are about 18 inches in length, so they're super long, so you can load up a lot of weight. I do believe that they have a shorter option for weight horns coming out soon that you can probably pre-order now even on their website. Again, like the latching, it takes some getting used to. However, once you get it down, it's pretty straightforward and it's pretty easy to do. And as you can see here, this is just like a seated military press or shoulder press with the ISO handles. The ISO handles, again, they're very good for pressing motions and potentially rowing motions, I would say. I haven't really done a lot of rowing motions with the VTS. However, I tried it a little bit. And I'm just using some specialty like short axle bar, and I'm using the big hooks that came with the VTS, and I'm just testing it out. Anyways, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. If you have any questions, leave them down below. I will see you guys in the next one. Again, thank you so much for watching. This was a long video. I'm gonna have timestamps in it, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.